Aloha and welcome to this experience called Meteor Island Snow. And the idea here is that we're going to take the React mockup for Island Snow, which you can see here, and which we built last week. It's got this index file with a bunch of components and a style.css. And we're going to re-implement it using Meteor. And to do that, we're going to be using the, whoops, this is the wrong one. To be doing that, to do that, we're going to use a system called Meteor Application Template, which is a Meteor application that I built to help you do these kinds of things, to quickly get you started using Meteor with a bunch of the right file structure and some built-in pages and so forth. So hopefully this will make it pretty easy for you. This template is located right here. And so before you start this experience, you should kind of go through this. I recommend actually even you download the template and run it, and that you also watch this 30-minute screencast about where I walk through the application in detail, so you're at least a little bit familiar with it before you start this. If you don't do that, if you go, oh my God, it's late, I'm procrastinated, and I'm just going to jump through this thing, then it's going to catch up to you sooner or later. I really recommend that you take the time to go through this, because a lot of people have the feeling, or some people have the feeling as they go through these materials, that they're just typing things and they're not understanding what they're doing. And the reason that generally happens is because you're not thinking as you do it. You're just typing, okay? And so by watching the screencast and going through these activities and not rushing it, that's how you move beyond just typing and cutting and pasting code and into actually understanding the system. And I'm not going to say that you'll understand every single thing every single time you first encounter it, but the slower you go and the more you reflect on these exercises, the more you'll understand how React and Meteor actually work. And then when you get into the next segment of the class where you've got to start building stuff, you'll have a conceptual model for how things are going. Okay, so please take the time on these things. If you have questions at any point, send the questions to the Slack group where all of us can help you. There's a lot of new stuff here, and it's going to take some time. So just, give yourself the time to actually go beyond, just seeing things and trying to replicate them and toward more deeply understanding them. Okay, so the sermon's over. What I'm going to do is I'm going to time this so you get a sense for how long this all takes. Unfortunately with these kinds of things, there is a significant amount of time that's taken up with doing the install and the NPM and the package and all that stuff. So there will be a certain amount of variation just depending upon your laptop. All right, so we're going to start off, and we want to create a private GitHub repo called Island Snow Meteor. So we'll go to github.com, and then the way I do it is I go to my profile, and then I go to repositories, and then I say new, and then I'm going to say Island Snow Meteor, and I want a private repo, and I want to initialize it with a README. And I'm going to say create repo. And then once that's done, I can say open in desktop, which will bring up my desktop. And I want this inside the GitHub Philip M. Johnson directory. So that looks good. And so I say clone. And now I've got that step finished. So let me go here. CD into the local directory, and then the next thing I'm going to do is download the zip file of Meteor application template. Well, I'll CD into, what the heck? So I'll CD cd github Philip Johnson, and then Island Snow Meteor. And here I am, I've got nothing in there. So at least I know that this thing's been created. And then I'm going to download a zip file of Meteor application template React. So I can click this download zip. And show in Finder. So there's the latest copy of it in my downloads directory. So I'll double click it. And now I've got the actual contents of that. I'll do a Propeller T to make a tab. And then in this area, I'm going to go to GitHub, Philip M. Johnson, Island Snow Meteor. And then let's see what the instructions tell me to do. So I'm going to copy the app directory, the config directory, and the git ignore file into my Island Snow Meteor. So if I go back to applications, the app directory, the config directory, and the git ignore, but I'll do this in 2 steps. So I'll Propeller C to copy that, and then Propeller V to put those 2 things in there, and then I'll go back to downloads. I'll select the git ignore, Propeller C, Island Snow Meteor, Propeller V. The git ignore is now there as well. Okay, then I'll cd into the app directory, run meteor npm install and meteor npm run start to run the app. Okay, so let's cd into the app directory, and then I'm going to do meteor npm install, which hopefully will not take too long, and then meteor npm run start to run the app. So we'll wait. And if this is the first time you've ever done a Meteor npm install with these set of packages, it's going to take longer. The second times it goes, went fast, 6 seconds, but that's because all those packages had already been cached in my local environment. So, if you're just going through these things for the very first time and it takes, 30 seconds or something to do it, don't worry, because part of that is getting these packages cached locally, and things will get much, much faster the second time that you need them. Okay, so we got the Meteor npm start running. This, and you can see on mine, I think this is taking, 20, 30 seconds. But when we get to this point here, it says app running at localhost 3000. That's the good news. And then it's going to print out this error message. Again, if you've gone through the template React, you know that this message, well, it's a warning, not an error message. The warning is printed out because I don't install bcrypt, and the reason why I don't install bcrypt is because on Windows, sometimes installing bcrypt is a hassle. So for the purposes of all my template code, I don't install bcrypt just to avoid Windows people getting sucked into something painful. Okay, let's go to localhost 3000, and you can see we've got the template. Okay, and we could log in and do whatever we want. We won't, but hopefully you've gone through the Meteor application template screencast and you've run it yourself locally, and everything's good. Okay. So we just saw that the console looks like this. We're supposed to commit and push my repo to GitHub with the message template installed. So let's go here, and you can see that we've got about 44 files in here that need to be committed, not 444. If for some reason you're committing the node modules directory, you'll have hundreds of files. So just to have a sanity check, about 44 files should change. So we're supposed to say template installed. And we'll commit this to our master in our local repo, and then we'll push to origin to get it up to GitHub. And then it's always good just to, sanity check. I can do a Propeller Shift G to bring up this repo, and you can see now, we've got this stuff where we want it. Okay, so the next thing is to set up IntelliJ and ESLint. So we're going to create an IntelliJ project called Island Snow Meteor that points to our app. Okay, so let's go create new project. You can see I've already got the React one that I did last week is already in there. So I'm going to say Island Snow Meteor, open, finish. Okay, and this is where we're going to do a little test. I have this indexing that happens, or IntelliJ wants to index the entire contents of the modules directory. So this is starting about 7, and I'm going to pause right here and just we'll see. We'll come back when this is finished, so you don't have to sit there and wait. Okay, I'm just note we're a minute in. And I'm just going to note that there is this pause button here that you could click if you get tired of waiting for indexing to happen. I generally just like to wait. So that was about a minute and a half total of waiting for all the indexing to be done. It may not matter to have indexed the node modules directory, and maybe you can just pause this and it won't have a difference. I haven't explored that because I like having IntelliJ understand as much as possible. At any rate, now we have IntelliJ all set up. There's nothing happening down here. Again, the indexing is a one-time thing. Generally, you don't have to do it except at project setup, and so it's not too painful. Okay, so we're supposed to make sure that ESLint is configured correctly, and we could do that by opening a JavaScript file such as import startup client startup.jsx. So let's try that, see what happens. App imports startup client startup.jsx. So when we open this up, we say, oh, shoots, it's not configured correctly. We're getting this error message. This is a common thing that'll happen. And to fix it, we go to ESLint settings. And the reason why it's not configured correctly is because we're using the user local lib version of node modules rather than the one inside our actual project. And what's cool about IntelliJ is that if you click that little menu, it actually has figured out there is one in our local project, and it'll give that to you as an option. So we can click that to get the one inside Island Snow Meteor, and then say OK, and it fixes it. Okay, so again, it's a little bit of a hassle, but now we've got it running. But just to make sure it's running, my favorite strategy is to add a few lines at the end of the file. And what you'll see is we get this little red tilde, which if we move the mouse over it, it says ESLint, too many blank lines. So the fact that this message starts with ESLint indicates for sure that ESLint is running. And you can also see over here that we've got we've got an error. We can click over here and we can see ESLint, too many blank lines. So we'll go back to just one blank line, save the file, and you see this red thing. I click on it to force the analysis to run again. It goes to a green arrow. So now we know for sure ESLint is running on our files, which is great because it finds so many problems for us. We can develop our code way faster if we've got ESLint helping us along. Okay, so we went through this. IntelliJ setup, ESLint is set up. We've waited for all that indexing to happen. Now we can actually start porting the Island Snow React mockup. And so you want to begin by having the Island Snow React project in IntelliJ. So you can see here, if I pull down the window, I've got the React version here, and I've got my new Meteor version here. Okay, and so we're just going to be basically cutting and pasting code from one into the other, but we're going to do it in a very particular way so that it now conforms to the way you develop a Meteor application using React. Okay, and hopefully this will make a lot of sense to you as you go through it, and it will also kind of help you understand how Meteor does things. I hope. Okay, so I've put a bunch of steps in here. The first thing is to port the style.css definitions. So we'll port the global CSS classes by copying the contents of source style.css from the Island Snow React project into app client style.css. Okay, so let's first go to Island Snow React. Here's our style.css, so I'll do a propeller A, propeller C to copy that entire file. Then I'll go back to my Meteor guy, and where I want to go here is into client style.css, which is the place in the template where you can put your global CSS declarations. So I'll just do a propeller V, paste that stuff in, and done, right? That wasn't very hard. Okay, So style, so we've done 3.1. The next thing is to port the page components. Okay, and so I start off by saying, if you'll notice, inside Island Snow React, we have a single file, index.js, and inside that file, we have some imports, and then we have 6 React component class declarations, which was perfectly okay last week and for doing this kind of, mock-up-y type stuff. But when you're building a regular application, the idea is that each class definition, of which, a React component is a class definition, that should exist in its own file. It makes it easier to find things, it makes it easier to maintain them, expand them, and so forth. So, so one of the things we're going to do is, out of this one file in the Island Snow React project, we're going to create 6 files in our Island Snow Meteor project. Okay, so there was 6 in there. There was a top menu, Island Snow logo, middle menu, full width image, footer menu, and Island Snow. These first 5 are going to go into the components directory. Okay, imports UI components. It turns out that Island Snow, that thing is actually an instance of a page. If you recall our standard structure, okay, if you look in the UI directory, we have components, we have layouts, we have pages. Layouts is a representation of the overall structure of an application, which could include stuff that appears on every single page, like every page has the same nav bar, every page has the same footer, okay? And then within, as you click around and stuff, your nav bar and footer stay the same, but between them is stuff that changes. Those are your pages. And then the third thing is, inside a page, you might have a little widget, little component, little, text area or whatever, and that could conceivably actually appear on multiple pages. Or you have a bunch of these that you use to make up the actual contents of a single page. So we call those components. All right, so there's kind of 3 pieces in an application. There's your layout, which is your overall structure. There's an individual page, which basically almost always goes between a footer and a nav bar. And then you've got the little components, the little things inside that make up individual pages. Those are called components, okay? So if we look at Island Snow React, what you're going to see is we've got, hey, a top-level menu. That's probably, the thing that appears on every single page. We've got a footer. That probably appears on every single page at the bottom. And then we got a bunch of junk in between, which is, kind of the contents of a page. Okay, and in fact, in this case, like the home page. So that's what we're going to end up building in the Meteor side of in the Meteor application. Is we're going to distinguish between the layout, a page, and the components of a page, and we're organizing that into different directories, which, as things get more complicated, sounds like a great way to go, right? All right, so let's start here. We're going to port these components. The top menu component should go into imports UI components top menu.jsx. We'll need to add an import, export this class by default, make any other adjustments. So here's the top menu.jsx. All right, so let's see. Let's go into Island Snow Meteor. Inside component, I'm going to do a propeller n, type fi to make a new file. Top menu.jsx. Okay. Yes, we want to add this file to Git, so we'll type click. And then we want to go back to Island Snow React and find top menu.jsx. And we'll do a propeller C. Then we'll go back to Island Meteor and we're going to say bam. Okay, and you notice all those red squiggles. That's ESLint helping us, doing us a solid, showing us stuff that we have to fix. Okay, so the first thing is, I'm just going to go through this. It says top menu is defined but never used. That's because somebody else is going to use top menu. So to indicate that, we can call this export default top menu, and then that little squiggle goes away because now ESLint recognizes, hey, you're exporting this class, so probably somebody else is going to use it. I'm not going to warn you about that. And then we have this ESLint React is not defined. So let's go back to Island Snow React. And here's the statement that defines that. So let's go back to here. And then we have a menu and container. Those are not defined. So let's go back over here and see where those were. Okay, so here's a line that has those in there. So let's just cut and paste it. And when we do, what we'll see is on the one hand, whoops, this stupid thing.
That's not nice.
Okay, you're right. Sorry, Siri. It wasn't nice of me. Okay, so notice I've gotten rid of the red squiggles inside here, but I've got some new red squiggles because I'm defining but never using things. So let me just, I think that's so great. Okay, so now I've got this file imported. There's no red squiggle. Well, let's see what we have here. Oh, we've got a missing semicolon. So I'll put that in there, and now we've got to the green arrow. So, that gives us confidence that there's nothing obviously wrong with top menu. Okay, so and here's what it looks like, and that just eyeballing it looks pretty much just like what we've got. Okay, so that's the first one, but we have to do the other ones as well. So we have to do top menu, Island Snow logo. So let's kind of go through the same thing. In components, we'll do a propeller N fi island snow logo.jsx. And then we'll go to Island Snow React. And then we'll take this, copy, and paste. And then let's just see kind of what it's worried about. We have to say export default to get rid of that first one. And then let's see, I can go back to top menu to get my React. In fact, I'll just copy both of these. That'd be a little bit faster. And then what I notice is containers not being used. None of these are being used actually, but we do need image. So I do that, and then I notice that none of my things did I have the semicolon. Okay, green. I don't like having two spaces there, even though it's okay with it. And let's go back and see what our next one is. Middle menu. Okay, so components, propeller N fi middle menu.jsx. And yeah, it's kind of repetitive, but once you kind of get yourself going here, you can do each one in less than a minute. So we know we need to export default to make sure we can actually use middle menu someplace else. And then I'm kind of liking this strategy of cutting and pasting both of these. And then just typing in menu, grid, drop down. Let's see how that does. Pretty good. So we need a semicolon here. We need a last line there. And we click this, get the green star, and we get rid of that extra line. So that's middle menu. Full width image, propeller N fi middle image.jsx. Is that what it's called? Middle image? No, full width image. So this is a shift function F6 full width image. Okay, and then I go back to Island Snow React. This is going to be just like my other image. So export default And then I can do a propeller E. The logo guy, I bet you is just about the same. So propeller C, put it in, add this semicolon, add the new line, propeller S, get the green check. Footer menu, and this is the last one, footer menu. So we go back to React. We select this and footer menu, export default so that it's going to be defined, and then let's, I don't know, go someplace else to get these two lines. And image, but we do need a grid. And we need a list. Get rid of that one. And an input and a label. How are we doing? So we get rid of this, add the semicolon. We got one last thing here. This is funny that I didn't see this from before, but this should be class name and just class. I should fix that in my mockup, but well, let me just make the error. So you can see what it's saying is you should always use class name rather than class when you're doing these JSX stuff. So we'll put class name there. All right, so that gives us the green check mark for this. Whoops. So let's go back to here. Okay, so we finished all our components. The next thing is to port the page definition. The 6-component island snow defines a page, like we were talking about before. So let's create a file called islandsnow.jsx in the import UI pages to hold that component. Okay, so what I'm going to do is say, go to pages. Got a bunch of stuff here. I'll do a propeller N fi islandsnow.jsx. And then I'm going to go back to React. And I'm going to take this class. And I'm going to say export default class island snow. And let me find another one. Okay, so what's interesting about, well, let's see. Okay, so import grid. Now we don't need any of these semantic UIs. What we do need is these page components. So we're going to have to say import, we're going to type import top menu from, we'll go up one level, then down into components. I can tab complete, and then I can say top menu, and I get that one. Import island snow logo from up, down, island snow logo. Import middle menu from up one, down components, middle, and import full width image from up, down, oops, full width image, and then finally import footer menu from up, down, well, up into, and then into components, and then footer menu. Okay. All right. Oops, I had an extra thing here. All right, let's see what's happening. Island snow, oops, logo. Okay, what is it? Oh, it's complaining about the lack of a last line. Okay, so now we've got a page called Island Snow. It defines all that stuff. Let's see. I think we're about ready to do something cool. Yeah. So now it says make HTTP localhost 3000 point to the Island Snow page. Now that we have an Island Snow page, change the app component to route to Island Snow instead of landing when the path is /. You'll need to fix the imports. Okay, so let's go to, here we are, Meteor application template. It's still, running. Okay. But now we're going to go into our app component, which is in the layouts directory. And we're going to stay when we, that local host thing, instead of going to landing, we now want to go to Island Snow. And when we do that, we're going to see that this is not defined. And this is defined but never used. So I'm just going to replace this by saying Island Snow. And we can, use tab completion. Okay, so having done that, let's just check, see what's happening down here. This thing restarts fine. And so we go up here and, well, look at this. Okay, so we've got our Island Snow thing, and it's looking great with one big exception. We've still got our navbar template for application template at the top, and we've still got our footer at the bottom. That's not, so it's almost good, but not quite. And so if we go back to this, we can see here's what it actually looks like. Yep, we've got that. It's almost perfect, except we're still displaying the nav bar from the template and the footer from the template. So how do we fix that? To fix it, what we're going to do is make the actual nav bar top level thing for Island Snow be the default nav bar in the layout, and make the footer from Island Snow be the footer in the app layout. Okay? So how do we do that? So we can go here. Let's go look at app. We've got nav bar here. Okay, that's the template nav bar, and we want to replace that by top menu. And then now this needs to be, we need to import top menu, and we don't need to import nav bar anymore, so we can do that. And then our footer should be, what's it called? It's called footer menu. So we can say footer menu. And I can add this from footer menu. Okay. All right, so we've made that fix. What happens now? Let's go look at our template. Okay. And okay, so we've got now two footers and two nav bars, and that's obviously because we haven't taken it out of our page. So let's fix the page, Island Snow, and say, no, we don't need the menu here because that's now in the layout. We don't need the footer in a page display because that's now in the layout. So let's just save that. Okay, and now it looks great. And I just forgot to mention that obviously we got to get rid of, so propeller delete gets rid of the entire line. It's telling us now, these things aren't referenced, so we got to get rid of that. So we save that. And this all looks great. Okay. And then it says in the last screenshot, notice that the Chrome tab for the page says Meteor application template. See that right there? Well, that's not good because this is actually Island Snow. So to fix that, go to app client main HTML and change the title element to Island Snow. So we just need to go app client main.html. We find this Meteor application template and we change it to Island Snow. We save it out, and we wait for a refresh. I don't know why this guy's doing that, but let's go back here. And now this is showing Island Snow. Okay. He is really having a problem. Never seen that before. Let's try doing our pause thing. Okay, so now this is fixed. The last step is that we have these old components and pages from the template. So for example, inside pages, we've got add stuff, edit stuff, landing, list stuff. None of this stuff we're using anymore. Now the not found, sign in, sign out, sign up, let's keep that around because we may want to change this in future to be a multi-user application. So these may have some utility, although the stuff probably doesn't. So it's always a good idea to kind of clean out stuff. And so this is what this section is for. So let's go through imports pages and imports UI components, delete the files. But first, commit and push our code to GitHub. Okay, and I'll tell you why. So we've changed and added all these files. So let's just say, ported mockup code. So I'm going to commit to master and then push this to GitHub. And the reason why I'm doing this it's almost like a checkpoint is so that if during this cleanup I kind of mess things up, I'll be able to undo my changes here in GitHub pretty easily. So let's go start with pages, add stuff.jsx. I'll just I'll select it. We don't need add stuff for this mockup, so I'll say delete, edit stuff, delete, return, gets rid of that. The landing page, definitely don't need that, so I've selected it here in the project window, press delete, press return to confirm. List stuff, don't need that, delete, confirm. All this other stuff seems good. And then in components, this is the footer from the template, so we don't need that. So I'll delete it. And nav bar, this is the nav bar from the template, so I'll delete that. Stuff item, that definitely doesn't seem useful, so I'll delete that. And let's see where we're at now. Do things still work? Nothing, it just doesn't work. Let's do a propeller meta J to see what's going on here. So bring up Chrome developers. Can't find module pages list stuff in app.jsx. Right, so I deleted some components, but I still am importing them someplace. So let's go to app.jsx. And what we can see here is, oh yeah, my list stuff, I'll do a propeller delete to get rid of that. Add stuff, edit stuff. That all needs to be changed. So if I go back to here, list stuff is not defined at app.render. Okay. So let's go back in here. Oh, right. So now the problem is I've got these paths. So list stuff, add stuff, edit stuff. Take those out. Let's go back here and see what's happening. Okay, finally, things look good, just the way we want them. Okay, and we can see here, there's, I'm deleting all these files and making some changes. This means a deletion. This means I've edited app.jsx. Let's say that I deleted something that I didn't want to delete. Okay, so for example, I got crazy and I said, oh, I'm going to delete footer menu.jsx. Who needs that one? So I'll press delete and I'll say delete. And then I go check my system and it says, uh-oh, can't find footer menu. Dude, you deleted it. Okay, so fortunately, because I did this checkpoint before, I can go to here, select footer menu, and right-click on this and say discard changes, which will basically undelete. Okay, and that puts footer menu back into the system, and now everything's back to normal. That's why I'm saying, as you're doing development, oftentimes you can use GitHub to kind of say, okay, commit this set of changes. I know this is okay. I'm about to start something else. Not too sure what, whether it's going to work or not. So it gives you the chance to quickly back out of things. All right, so what did it want me to say? Completed island snow mockup. Completed island snow mockup. So commit to master, push origin. And then, we can do a propeller shift G to go to the page. Just for grins, I can look down here and see imports, UI, pages. Yep, there's my island snow stuff. So I've, feeling confident here that, and I don't see the other pages that I shouldn't have. So, and in fact, if I go up here, I can see my commit, completed island snow mockup was just done. So as you're getting comfortable with GitHub, it's, I really recommend you always kind of double check to see what you hope you did actually happened. All right, that's the end. Took us almost 40 minutes to do it. That's, a lot of time, but I was doing a lot of talking. I think you can do it faster. But I hope at this point you've got a better sense for React, a better sense for the Island Snow React module or mockup, and in particular, you're starting to get a sense for how the Meteor application template is used to structure code for Meteor. If you don't quite have it yet, don't worry, because you're going to have more opportunities.